Up until this point on the channel, I've always gone straight into the batching out portion of the build. However, with this project and video, I build one prototype and make a few tweaks prior to batching out the 12 others. I'm sure my wife, whom these are for, is eventually going to want more than just the 13 I make in this video, but it's a start. Since these are all going to be placed outside, I've opted to use cedar fencing slats for the structure, with the hopes of prolonging their years of use. In addition to cedar slats, I've opted to use stainless steel hinges, knowing that I'll probably have to oil them up at least twice each year before I place them outside and once before I store them away during the off-season. This is also one of the reasons my design calls for hinges. The idea being that they can easily be folded up and stored away in my garage during the late fall, winter, and early spring months. As you see here, the first iteration had 32-inch legs, but I quickly realized that shrinking it down to just under 30 inches will afford me 4 legs per cedar slat and more wood for the rungs. And speaking of which, I ended up going with 14-inch rungs, allowing me to get a total of 4 30-inch legs in addition to the 4 14-inch rungs, all in one 5.5-inch by 5-foot cedar slat. Later, you'll see that I wasn't able to get all stainless steel hinges at the big box store, so 2 sets of these will have zinc-plated hinges. The way I see it, I'll be able to do a comparison to see which set of hinges held up better each season. When considering the placement of the rungs, my wife ultimately made the decision to have the rungs about 10 inches apart, so the first and lowest rung was about an inch off the ground, and the other 2 rungs were set 10 inches from that. For the concrete sequential people like me, I measured up 2, 12, and 22 inches when setting the rungs. And the same was done for the other side, 2 inches, 12 inches, and 22 inches. Hello and welcome back to Woodworking Monetized, where woodworking doesn't have to be another expensive hobby. Here is the prototype. Any ideas as to what this is? It's going to go outside in the garden, and it merely has the hinges on it so I can store it away when it's not needed. It's my take on the tomato cage. So, we use these for tomatoes and also dahlias. And after a season or two, it definitely gets bent on the bottom pieces as you try to wedge it into the ground. Whereas I don't believe it needs to go in the ground. Also, whereas this starts at a cone shape and the smallest point at the bottom, that's always a little bit tricky when you're trying to train, especially the dahlias in the beginning, to try to get them to grow in the right spot where you've put this. So the idea would be that you have plenty of room at the base to have it start to grow, and then you can train it along here and then out the sides. And my wife's dahlias get about a couple feet higher than that in some cases, so it'll have room to expand up there and also give it some stability. So got my wife's approval, and we'll make 12 more. As seen here, each cedar slat produced 4 legs and 4 rungs. Another 2 cedar slats, just cutting for rungs, gave me 24 more, 12 per slat. Don't forget to orient your hinges the right way, otherwise they won't close. After creating my prototype, I realized it would be easier to set up the nails first on all the rungs prior to assembly, as these 1-inch nails are pretty flimsy and finicky. I ended up using the thickness of a rung as a starting point for the first rung. I'm also using Titebond 3 glue, as these will be outside in Oregon weather. I'm also using some scrap wood as spacers for each rung, which helped increase my speed when batching these out. When all is said and done, I'm sure I'll be making at least 12 more of these. Hello, if you're new here, welcome to my channel, Woodworking Monetized, where woodworking doesn't have to be another expensive hobby. If you have been with me, I appreciate your patience. I know I've lost some subscribers along the way, and that makes sense because I haven't posted in about a year. But this is the new project, and it is being sold to my wife. I am selling them at $15 each, and it costs about $7 or $8 to make the bank. And again, this is not my job. This is just a hobby to help pay for new tools. Hence my tagline, where woodworking doesn't have to be another expensive hobby. I am not quitting my day job.